This is a book review of Be My Guest, a biography of Conrad Hilton, legendary hotel man. This is Accessory to Success. We review a lot of business books here, and if that's interesting, you might consider subscribing to our newsletter. We like to package up little tidbits and lessons from all these business books and send them out in emails. Feel free to look at the website to sign up there and enjoy this book review of Be My Guest by Conrad Hilton. Main takeaway. This is a biography published in 1958 by hotel man Conrad Hilton. Tells the amazing story of how Conrad, dubbed by Time magazine as the Innkeeper of the world, went from owning one shabby hotel in Cisco, Texas in 1919 to building a hotel chain that spans over 3,600 hotels through the globe. Lessons you'll learn. Hilton's early failed troubles to become a success. When the first breakthrough came through in the hotel business. Hilton's struggles when the 1929 Depression came roaring in. Conrad Hilton was born in San Antonio, New Mexico, and his father Gus made a living selling supplies to men who made their living in the backwoods of New Mexico. Somewhat prosperous, his father moved to California and was wealthy enough to buy plenty of stock. However, the stock became relatively worthless in 1907 due to a financial crisis that first hit the New York Stock Exchange and then spread countrywide. Gus, however, still had assets back in New Mexico, including a large 10-room adobe house, which the family converted into a boarding house and charged workers $2.50 a day, including meals. Conrad worked for his father for 11 years, from a tender age, but longed to make a success on his own terms, with the intention of going into owning a bank. World War I was the first hurdle for Mr. Hilton, and while on active duty, his father died in a car accident. Very frugal throughout the years, Conrad managed to save around $5,000, roughly $50,000 in today's money, and after the war, his intention was to own a bank, and then a chain of banks. In 1923, he attempted to own a bank in Albuquerque, and Conrad moved to Cisco, Texas, which was having an oil boom because it didn't work out. When he moved to Cisco, even the owner of the hotel, the Mobley, despite making great profits, was anxious to sell and get into the oil business. So when a bank acquisition deal failed, Conrad bought the Mobley. Hilton then shifted his interest to owning hotels and bought several rundown hotels in Texas, all of which were quite profitable. But Hilton wanted more, and while it took a while, he was able to build a grand hotel in Dallas for around $1 million. Life was great. Hilton got married, had children, and with 9 hotels beneath him, all went swimmingly. And then, 19 days after the Hilton Hotel in Dallas was complete, the 1929 Depression hit. Hilton's finances took a deep dive during the Depression, so big that he lost several of his hotels and actually had to pawn his clothes as he went into bankruptcy. Still, his ability at hotel management was highly valued, and Hilton was called upon by a third party to manage all of their hotels. He eventually was able to retain ownership of all his lost hotels. Over the late 1930s, Hilton, having regained most of his lost financial footing, wound up expanding first on the East Coast and West Coasts in Chicago, and by 1954, 3 years before he published his biography, Hilton's hotel chain had blossomed to 188 hotels throughout the world. Although he was mega successful as a hotelier, Mr. Hilton gives his mother and father great credit for his success. Although they both had deeply different approaches to success, his mother, a deeply Catholic woman, constantly urged Conrad to pray for success, while his father, a more practical man, urged Conrad to work, work, work. Later, when writing his biography at age 70, Conrad also realized that there was a third element to his success, which came in the way of dreaming big. Conrad was always a huge believer, and much like many gentlemen who lived in the era of the Great Depression and then saw America go through the Great Prosperity from 1946 to 1964, Conrad was determined to see his dreams of financial success come true. By the time he died in 1979, at the age of 91, Hilton had acquired $1 billion in assets, and he was one of around 40 or so billionaires in the United States. His story provides inspiration for anyone who doesn't know their future path to success, but are hungry enough to keep themselves open to opportunity. After all, Conrad Hilton did not set out to become a hotelier, but while exploring other opportunities, he found his calling. Another principle that is highly important to Conrad Hilton's story is his thriftiness. By the time he bought the Mobley Hotel, he had saved up over $5,000, a princely sum in those days. Although the opportunity arose at the Mobley when Mr. Hilton's explorations at buying a bank fell through, it was his savings and investments that allowed him to purchase his first hotel. Having a sufficient investment seed money is one thing that separates many dreamers from reality. About the author Conrad Hilton. Conrad Hilton was born in 1887 and died at age 91 in 1979. He married Mary Barron in 1925, and the couple had 3 children: Conrad Hilton Jr., Baron Hilton, and Eric Hilton. Conrad and Mary divorced in 1936, and in 1942, Conrad married again. The couple had 1 child, Francesca, who died in 1967 of a stroke. The couple divorced in 1947. From his wife's perspective, that neither party was particularly happy. Conrad then remained single until 1976, when he married Mary Frances Kelly, who remained his wife until he died at 1979. Hilton left the bulk of his estate to a foundation created in his name. Hilton contributed millions of dollars worth of financial assistance to charities and educational institutions. Conrad remained head of Hilton Hotels Corporation and the Hotel International Company until his retirement in 1966. When he turned the reins over to his son Baron, besides creating the hotel chain, Conrad purchased the Carte Blanche Credit Company, the creditor of the Diners Club, the first independent credit card payment company in the world, and he was also a substantial investor in the American Crystal Sugar Company. Mr. Hilton received honorary degrees from the University of Detroit in 1953, DePaul University in 1954, Barat College in 1955, and many others. Besides his biography published in 1958, Mr. Hilton also wrote a second biography in 1963 entitled Inspirations of an Innkeeper. Hilton lived in a house in Bel Air, California, which he dearly loved from 1950 until the time of his death in 1979. Of note is that long after his death in 2009, he was portrayed by actor Chelsea Ross in the television series Mad Men for 6 seasons. In addition, Hilton's great-grandfather, Paris Hilton, is, of course, an active and somewhat polarizing social media star and active socialite. No members of the Hilton family really own any hotels since they were publicly sold in 2007. The surviving Hilton members have a lot of stock in Hilton Worldwide Holdings and continue to franchise hotels worldwide. This has been a book review of Be My Guest, the biography of Conrad Hilton. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next review.